Belief is not something that arrives on its own. It is something you build, something you strengthen, something you choose even when every part of you is whispering that you're not ready. The greatest truth you must face is that the power you are searching for has always been inside you, but it remains dormant until you force it into motion. Every person who has ever risen beyond the limitations of their circumstances began with a single decision, the decision to trust themselves long before anyone else did. And this is the same decision you must make now, not tomorrow, not when you feel more confident, not when life becomes easier. Confidence is a result, not a starting point. It is the outcome of daring to act when uncertainty surrounds you. You do not need permission to step into your potential. You do not need approval to rise. The world will not hand you belief. It will only hand you challenges that require belief. And if you wait for encouragement or validation, you will wait forever. There comes a moment when you must look at your life and recognize that staying where you are is more painful than moving toward who you could become. That moment is the turning point. That moment is the beginning of self-belief. The truth is simple. You have survived every difficult day you thought you wouldn't. You have overcome problems you once believed were impossible. You have adapted, endured, and risen through storms you thought would break you. So why do you still doubt yourself? Why do you still question your ability to grow, to change, to win? You carry proof of your strength in every struggle you have already conquered. You carry evidence of resilience in every chapter you thought would end you, but didn't. The only thing missing is your willingness to acknowledge this truth. You are stronger than your excuses, stronger than your fears, stronger than the version of you that keeps holding back. Belief is not a feeling, it is a discipline. You build it by facing the things you once avoided. You build it by refusing to give power to the thoughts that tell you to stay the same. You build it by speaking to yourself with the authority of someone who knows their life can change. Every time you push yourself one step beyond your comfort, you strengthen the foundation of who you are becoming. Every time you choose effort over hesitation, you reinforce the identity of someone who refuses to settle for mediocrity. And every time you act with intention, even when you feel unprepared, you expand the limits of what you believe is possible for you. There is a force inside you that responds to pressure. When life challenges you, it is not trying to destroy you, it is trying to reveal you. The person you need to become is built through resistance. The belief you need to succeed is shaped through effort. You will never unlock your greatest self by staying comfortable. Comfort protects your weaknesses. Pressure strengthens your power. That is why you must choose to rise even when you are tired, to continue even when doubt is loud, to trust yourself even when the path ahead is unclear. You were not meant to stand in the shadows of your own potential. You were meant to step forward, to claim the life that only self-belief can unlock. And no matter how far you think you are from the person you want to become, the journey begins with one courageous decision, the decision to believe that you are capable of more, not because someone else told you, not because circumstances are perfect, but because deep down a quiet voice is telling you that you were built for something greater and you can no longer afford to ignore it. Doubt is the quiet force that steals more dreams than failure ever could. It slips into the mind unnoticed, convincing you that you are not enough, that you are unworthy of progress, that your goals belong to someone stronger, someone smarter, someone more prepared. Yet doubt is nothing more than a story you've repeated so many times that you've begun to treat it as fact. It is not a wall built from truth. It is a wall built from fear, and fear thrives only when you listen to it. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not the challenges around you, but the hesitation within you that keeps you from stepping into your full strength. When you examine doubt closely, you discover that it has no substance. It cannot stop you unless you surrender your authority to it. Every time you hesitate, every time you delay, every time you shrink back instead of moving forward, you feed the illusion that doubt has power. But it doesn't. It is powered entirely by your attention. When you stop giving it attention, it weakens. When you challenge it, it cracks. When you move in spite of it, it dissolves. The only reason doubt feels powerful is because you have forgotten your ability to push through it. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between the discomfort of growth and the slow decay of staying the same. Doubt encourages you to remain in the familiar, even when the familiar is the very thing limiting your life. It tells you that stepping forward is dangerous, that the unknown is too unpredictable, that you might fail if you take the next step. But what it never tells you is the truth. Staying still is the most dangerous choice of all. Staying still is choosing a life that never expands, never evolves, never reaches the levels you were born to experience. The mind will always look for what is safe, but the heart knows when you are meant for more. Doubt tries to silence that knowing by drowning it in excuses, worries, and imagined outcomes that never truly happen. You must learn to separate your truth from your fears. Doubt is loud, but it is not intelligent. It does not calculate your potential. It does not understand your capacity. It does not see your resilience or your willingness to rise. It simply repeats old narratives that no longer serve you. You must confront it with a new voice, your own. When you recognize that doubt is nothing more than a habit of thinking, you regain control. Habits can be broken. Beliefs can be rewritten. You can choose new thoughts even while the old ones fight for survival. And with every new thought of courage, every new affirmation of strength, every new moment where you act despite uncertainty, you weaken the hold doubt has over your life. Eventually, the voice that once kept you frozen becomes nothing more than background noise, a reminder of a past version of you that no longer exists. The truth is simple. Doubt cannot stop you unless you accept its story as your identity. But the moment you reject that story, the moment you choose to move forward anyway, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see that the wall in front of you was never solid. It was only a shadow, intimidating until you step through it. And once you do, you realize that the only thing that ever stood between you and your potential was the belief that you were not capable. Replace that belief, and you replace your entire future. The mind is the foundation on which every achievement, every breakthrough, and every transformation is built. Long before success appears in your hands, it must first appear in your thoughts. Every accomplishment in human history began as an idea, fragile, uncertain, and invisible to everyone except the person who held it. This is the power you carry within you right now. Your mind is shaping your future, whether you are aware of it or not. The thoughts you repeat, the beliefs you accept, and the expectations you feed are constructing the path you will eventually walk. If you constantly tell yourself that you are limited, your life will bend to those limits. If you continually declare that you are capable, your energy shifts, your decisions align, and your actions begin to carry the force of conviction. The mind does not simply respond to reality, it creates it. Most people underestimate this truth because thoughts seem small and insignificant, yet they are the very blueprint of destiny. A single belief can lift a person from nothing to greatness, or trap them in a cycle of hesitation and regret. What you think about yourself determines what you attempt, and what you attempt determines what you achieve. This is why it is not enough to simply hope for success. You must think in alignment with it, speak in alignment with it, and act in alignment with it. You must treat your mind like the valuable instrument it is, guarding it against every idea that weakens your sense of power and feeding it with every idea that strengthens your sense of possibility. The person who learns to control their mind becomes unstoppable because life can only take from you what your thoughts allow. Your mind will always build something. It cannot remain neutral. It is either constructing excuses or constructing opportunities. It is either producing belief or producing doubt. It is either fueling your courage or fueling your fear. The direction it takes depends on the thoughts you choose to accept. Every day you are training your mind, either toward strength or toward surrender. And the truth is, you are far stronger than the limitations you've carried. You are far greater than the doubts you've believed. But your mind must be taught to recognize this. You must discipline your thoughts to rise rather than allowing them to fall back into old patterns. When you begin to choose thoughts that empower you, something shifts at the core of your being. Your decisions become bolder. Your energy becomes sharper. The barriers that once intimidated you begin to shrink. This is not magic. It is the natural result of taking ownership of your inner world. The moment you understand that your mind is the architect of your future, you stop waiting for conditions to change and start changing yourself. And when you change yourself, the world cannot help but change with you. Every dream becomes possible the moment you decide to build it in your thoughts first. Every breakthrough begins with the courage to imagine something greater. Your mind is the birthplace of everything you will become, and the more deliberately you shape your thoughts, the more intentionally you shape your destiny. Every turning point in life begins with a decision so small that it often goes unnoticed. The decision to believe in yourself at the very moment it feels hardest to do so. This choice is not loud, dramatic, or accompanied by instant transformation. It is quiet. It is subtle. It is the internal shift where you stop waiting for certainty and start moving with intention. Belief is not a single moment of inspiration. It is a daily commitment to stand on your own side. It is choosing to speak power into your mind instead of feeding it excuses. It is deciding again and again that you will not let fear dictate your direction. Most people wait for belief to show up before they act, but that is not how growth works. Belief grows when you push yourself forward despite the doubts. It grows when you take the step you're afraid of and realize you did not crumble. It grows when you face resistance and refuse to back down. The decision to believe in yourself is like a muscle. It strengthens every time you use it, and every time you avoid it, it weakens. This is why some people never rise. They never practice belief long enough for it to become real. They keep waiting for a perfect moment, a perfect sign, a perfect feeling. But perfection never comes. What comes instead are countless small opportunities to choose strength over hesitation. Each day presents you with a choice between reinforcing your limitations or reinforcing your potential. The thoughts you allow are not harmless. They are instructions your mind follows. When you tell yourself that you are incapable, the mind finds evidence to support it. When you tell yourself you are capable, the mind begins searching for ways to prove that too. The decision to believe in yourself is the decision to give your mind a direction worth pursuing. It is the moment you stop letting old narratives suffocate your future. It is the moment you tell yourself, I may not have all the answers yet, but I am willing to grow into them. Choosing belief daily requires honesty. It requires looking at your weaknesses and deciding they are not permanent. It requires acknowledging your fears without allowing them to own you. It requires recognizing that progress does not come from perfection but persistence. Every day you wake up with the power to shape your identity. You can choose to be the person who shrinks or the person who rises. You can choose to repeat the same limiting story or write a new one. You can choose to let your past define you or let your future pull you forward. The decision that changes everything is not loud, but it is powerful. It is the moment you stop asking whether you are capable and start acting as if you are. It is the moment you decide that belief is not something you wait for, it is something you create. And once you make this choice consistently, your life begins to change in ways that no one else may understand at first. But you will understand, you will feel the difference. Because belief is not something given to you, it is something you earn by choosing it every single day. True strength is not found in the moments when everything is going your way. It is revealed in the moments when you feel weak, uncertain, and overwhelmed, yet you push forward anyway. Strength grows in the shadows long before it ever shows in the light. It develops through discipline, through persistence, through the quiet decision to stand back up every time life knocks you down. This kind of strength is not inherited. It is forged through repetition, through struggle, through the refusal to surrender. Every challenge you have faced has been shaping you, whether you realized it or not. Every setback has been preparing you to rise with more clarity, more resilience, and more fire than before. What feels heavy today is building the endurance you will rely on tomorrow. People often misunderstand strength, thinking it is something reserved for the naturally confident or the inherently gifted. But true strength is not about talent or natural ability. It is about commitment. It is about refusing to bow to your old limitations. It is about recognizing that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can control the meaning you assign to it. You can decide that your challenges are not curses but catalysts. You can decide that your pain is not punishment but preparation. You can decide that every difficulty is shaping you into someone capable of carrying a greater future than the one you once imagined. Strength is built each time you silence the voice that tells you to quit. It grows every time you continue moving when your mind tries to convince you that you are done. The truth is that you are always capable of more than you think. Most people never discover their true potential because they stop at the point where discomfort begins. They allow struggle to convince them that they have reached their limit, when in reality they have only reached the boundary of their comfort zone. Beyond that boundary lies the version of you who can achieve everything you desire. But you will only meet that version of yourself if you are willing to push past the resistance that has held you back for years. There will be days when your mind feels heavy, when motivation fades, and when progress seems invisible. These are the days that matter the most, because these are the moments that separate the committed from the curious. Anyone can move forward when the path is clear and the energy is high. But the ones who build real strength are the ones who continue even when the journey feels slow, when effort feels unrewarded, and when belief feels distant. Those who keep going in those moments build a level of mental power that cannot be shaken by external conditions. Strength is not measured by how fast you achieve your goals, but by how firmly you refuse to let adversity stop you. It is measured by your willingness to rise after disappointment. It is measured by your consistency in the face of uncertainty. It is measured by your ability to keep your vision alive, even when no one else sees it. Every day you choose discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, action over hesitation. You are carving out the identity of someone unstoppable. And the most important truth is this: strength does not arrive all at once. It accumulates. Every small effort adds a brick. Every disciplined choice adds a layer. Every moment of perseverance adds another piece of the foundation that will one day support everything you are working toward. You are stronger today than you were yesterday, and you will be stronger tomorrow than you are today if you continue building, continue believing, and continue moving forward with unwavering determination. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is one of the most valuable ingredients of success. It is the teacher that strips away illusions and forces you to confront who you really are and what you truly want. Most people run from failure because they've been conditioned to see it as a permanent stain, a mark of inadequacy, a sign that they weren't meant for more. But failure is nothing more than feedback. It shows you what doesn't work so you can discover what does. It exposes the weak parts of your strategy so you can rebuild them stronger. It teaches you resilience, patience, humility, and discipline, qualities that comfort never provides. When you fear failure, you trap yourself in a cage where growth becomes impossible. But when you embrace it, when you accept that stumbling is part of the journey, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop seeing failure as final. You begin to understand that every setback carries a lesson that pushes you closer to mastery. Every disappointment, every misstep, every attempt that didn't unfold the way you expected is part of the refinement process. You are being shaped into someone capable of holding the success you are striving for. If everything worked the first time, you would never develop the endurance, focus, or emotional strength required to maintain your achievements. The path would be too easy, and you would collapse the moment real pressure arrived. But by walking through failure, you build the mental armor that allows you to rise again and again without losing your spirit. Failure also reveals your true relationship with your goals. When you fall short, you are forced to ask yourself a simple but powerful question: how badly do you want this? Anyone can want something when the path is smooth. Anyone can dream big when there are no obstacles. But only those who desire their goals deeply will keep going after being knocked down. This is why failure is a filter. It separates the interested from the committed. If you continue despite the pain, despite the uncertainty, despite the embarrassment or frustration, you prove to yourself that your dream is more than a wish. It is a mission. And missions are not abandoned simply because they're difficult. What most people never understand is that failure strengthens belief. When you fail and still rise, you begin to trust yourself on a deeper level. You realize that no setback has the power to break you unless you allow it to. You learn that you can endure disappointment, navigate chaos, and rebuild from what feels like nothing. Each time you choose to continue, you carve new pathways in your mind that reinforce an unshakable identity, the identity of someone who does not quit. And once this identity forms, belief ceases to be something you chase. It becomes the lens through which you view every challenge. The truth is simple. You cannot be afraid of failure if you want to rise. You must be willing to fail repeatedly, publicly, painfully, until your skills sharpen, your vision strengthens, and your confidence becomes unbreakable. Failure is not your enemy. Hesitation is. Avoidance is. Giving up is. But failure itself, failure is the sculptor that shapes you into the person capable of achieving everything you desire. The force that separates wishful thinking from undeniable progress. It is the internal contract you sign with yourself, a promise that you will not retreat when the path becomes uncomfortable. Commitment is not about excitement or motivation. Those come and go like weather. Commitment is the decision to stay, to push, to persist, even when the emotions that once fueled you have faded. Most people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they abandon their goals the moment the journey begins to demand more from them. They stop when challenges appear, forgetting that every goal worth achieving requires endurance, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication. Commitment means showing up after the enthusiasm fades. It means doing the work when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when there is no immediate reward. It means trusting the process long before the results show. You must understand that consistency compounds in ways that are invisible at first. Days of quiet effort, hours of focused work, and moments of disciplined action may feel small, but they accumulate into strength, momentum, and mastery. Commitment turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers because it creates a rhythm of progress that cannot be stopped by temporary setbacks. When you commit fully, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop allowing mood, fear, or doubt to dictate your actions. You operate from purpose instead of emotion. And when your purpose becomes the driver, your progress becomes inevitable. There will be days when your mind whispers that you are tired, that this is too much, that you can't continue. This is where commitment becomes essential. It is in these moments that your decision to keep going rewrites your identity. Every time you push through resistance, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust. Commitment is not only about achieving external goals, it is about becoming someone who does not break their own word, someone who can rely on themselves, someone who stands firm even when everything inside them wants to quit. Without commitment, potential remains unused, dreams remain dormant, and talent remains hidden. But with commitment, you transform into a person who moves with intention, someone who refuses to be stopped by fear or fatigue. Commitment gives your goals weight. It gives your actions meaning. It gives your future direction. And once you choose to commit on a level that cannot be shaken, you unlock a version of yourself that most people will never meet. The version that finishes what they start, grows through every obstacle, and rises because quitting is no longer an option. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move while fear is still present. Every meaningful step you will ever take requires you to face uncertainty, discomfort, and risk. Fear whispers that you should wait for the perfect moment, that you should gather more confidence before you begin, that you should hold back until you feel fully prepared. But waiting only strengthens the very fear you are trying to overcome. The longer you hesitate, the more convincing your doubts become. Courage is built through action, through stepping forward when your mind is filled with reasons to stop. It is choosing progress over comfort, growth over familiarity, and purpose over fear. This kind of courage does not roar. It begins quietly, often as a single choice to challenge your own limits. Most people imagine courage as something grand, dramatic, or extraordinary, but real courage shows up in the smallest decisions you make every day. It appears when you choose discipline instead of distraction, when you speak truth instead of silence, when you try again after failing, when you hold yourself to a higher standard even when no one else expects you to. These small acts of bravery compound over time, reshaping your identity from someone who hesitates to someone who moves with intention. Each time you act despite fear, you weaken the grip it holds over you. Each time you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort, your belief grows stronger. Eventually, what once terrified you becomes normal, and what once seemed impossible becomes part of your reality. Courage is also the willingness to let go, letting go of limiting beliefs, letting go of old habits, letting go of the stories that once kept you safe but now hold you back. Your greatest breakthroughs will often come from releasing the version of yourself that no longer aligns with where you are going. Change requires risk. Growth requires uncertainty. Transformation requires vulnerability. You cannot evolve without stepping into the unknown. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is the territory where your future exists. Your potential is waiting on the other side of decisions you are afraid to make. To live with courage is to accept that fear will always be part of the journey, but it does not have to control your direction. Fear is a signal that you are approaching something meaningful, something challenging, something capable of expanding who you are. When you feel fear, it is not a sign to retreat. It is a sign that you are standing at the edge of growth. Instead of running from that feeling, lean into it. Use it as fuel. Understand that every person who has ever achieved greatness has walked through that same tension. that same uncertainty, that same discomfort. They simply refuse to let fear make decisions for them. When you begin to act with courage, you build a new internal identity. You start to see yourself as someone who moves, someone who tries, someone who pushes through resistance. This identity becomes a foundation for everything you build afterward. Courage becomes a habit, and once it becomes a habit, fear loses its power. The world begins to open in ways you never imagined, not because the challenges disappear, but because you have become the kind of person who no longer backs down from them. Persistence is the visible expression of belief. It is one thing to think you are capable, but it is another to continue moving forward when obstacles appear, when progress slows, when the results you hoped for are nowhere in sight. Belief without action is meaningless, and action without persistence is fleeting. Persistence bridges the gap between what you know you can achieve and what you actually accomplish. It is the relentless refusal to surrender, the quiet determination to continue, even when every fiber of your being wants to quit. The moment you stop pushing is the moment doubt gains a foothold. Every small step forward, repeated day after day, strengthens the internal conviction that you are capable of more than you previously imagined. Life is designed to test the strength of your persistence. Challenges, setbacks, and failures are not signs that you are incapable. They are proof that you are in the process of growing. Every difficulty you encounter is a call to persist, to move with even greater determination, to refuse the easy way out. Persistence is not glamorous. It is not always visible or praised. Often it is lonely work. But it is also the work that separates those who achieve greatness from those who merely dream about it. The consistent, disciplined effort to continue in spite of resistance proves that your belief is not superficial. It transforms belief from a thought into an unshakable part of your identity. Persistence also builds confidence. Every time you continue despite doubt, fear, or discomfort, you gather evidence that you can handle more than you realized. You begin to see that failure is temporary, that challenges are conquerable, and that nothing external can truly stop you unless you allow it to. Over time, persistence reshapes the mind. What once felt impossible begins to feel achievable. What once felt like resistance becomes routine. What once demanded effort becomes second nature. The person who persists does not rely on fleeting emotions or temporary motivation. They rely on a deeper understanding that action, repeated consistently, will inevitably produce results. Most people give up because they confuse temporary setbacks with permanent failure. They interpret delays as signals that they lack ability or luck. But persistence teaches a different truth. The world is neutral. It does not favor the talented or punish the unprepared. It simply responds to those who refuse to quit. By persisting, you are demonstrating to yourself and to the world that your belief is stronger than circumstance. You begin to trust not only your abilities, but the process itself. You recognize that success is not a matter of perfection, timing, or fortune. It is a matter of refusing to stop moving forward. No matter how many times life pushes back, persistence becomes the proof of belief because it is the action that carries the weight of conviction. Anyone can declare confidence in themselves when things are easy. Anyone can hope when the path is smooth. But only those who persist, who continue moving when the world resists, who refuse to yield to fatigue, doubt, or frustration, are the ones who truly embody the power of belief. Through persistence, belief becomes unstoppable, tangible, and undeniable. It is no longer an idea in your mind. It is a force in your life that propels you toward the person you are capable of becoming. Repetition is the method through which belief becomes permanent. The human mind is not changed by single moments of inspiration or occasional bursts of motivation. It is changed by the ideas, words, and actions you repeat consistently over time. Every thought you dwell on, every phrase you affirm, every mental image you hold shapes your subconscious mind and directs your behavior. The subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant there will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, hesitation, and fear, you will harvest insecurity. But if you plant seeds of confidence, certainty, and possibility, you will harvest power. The law of repetition is the mechanism that ensures your inner dialogue shapes your outer reality. Most people underestimate the power of repetition because they expect immediate transformation. They think a single statement of confidence or a one-time act of courage will be enough to create lasting change. But the subconscious does not respond to isolated events, it responds to patterns. You must consistently repeat the thoughts, the affirmations, and the actions that support the person you want to become. Every morning, every night, and every moment you consciously return to empowering beliefs, you reinforce the pathways in your mind that guide your choices. Over time, these repeated patterns become automatic, shaping your behavior without requiring constant effort or willpower. Repetition also strengthens faith in yourself. Each time you affirm your ability, each time you act in alignment with your goals, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. Doubt begins to fade, hesitation loses its grip, and your identity shifts. You start to internalize the fact that you are capable, that you are deserving, that you have the power to create the life you desire. What once required conscious effort now becomes instinctive. Your mind begins to respond automatically to the reality you are training it to accept, and your actions begin to flow effortlessly from belief. This is the invisible work that leads to visible success. The law of repetition applies not only to thoughts but also to behavior. Habits are built through repetition, discipline is strengthened through repetition, confidence becomes automatic through repetition. Every consistent action sends a signal to your subconscious. This is who you are, this is what you do, this is what you achieve. And once these signals are embedded, they operate without conscious effort, guiding you toward the results you desire. The more intentional your repetitions, the faster your subconscious aligns with your vision, turning belief into a permanent part of your identity. Many people resist repetition because it feels boring, tedious, or unnecessary. They want change to happen instantly, without realizing that transformation is forged through consistent, persistent practice. The most successful people are not extraordinary because of talent alone. They are extraordinary because they consistently repeated empowering beliefs and actions until they became part of their very being. The law of repetition ensures that belief is no longer fragile or fleeting. It becomes reliable, unwavering, and automatic. When you harness this law, you are training your mind to work for you instead of against you, creating an unstoppable foundation for success that no challenge can undo. Fear is not the enemy. It is a signal, a guide, a compass pointing you toward where growth and transformation exist. Most people misinterpret fear, allowing it to paralyze them, preventing them from taking steps that could change everything. Fear feels heavy, uncomfortable, and threatening, which is why so many avoid it. But fear is not a punishment. It is a natural response to stepping beyond familiar boundaries. It is a message from your mind telling you that something meaningful is at stake. Those who understand this transform fear into fuel. They no longer allow it to hold them back. Instead, they treat it as an indicator that they are moving in the right direction, that they are approaching the edge of their comfort zone, and that real growth is waiting for them if they act despite it. Every time you face fear and act anyway, you prove to yourself that it does not have the power you once imagined. Fear diminishes not when it disappears, but when you continue forward despite it. The moment you learn to move while afraid, fear shifts from being an obstacle to being a trigger, a signal that you are about to stretch your limits and expand your capabilities. Each encounter with fear strengthens your courage muscles. It teaches you resilience. It proves that your capacity for action is greater than your capacity for worry. Those who succeed consistently are not fearless. They simply refuse to let fear dictate their actions. They recognize that fear is temporary, but the results of acting despite fear are permanent. Fear also exposes where belief is weakest. It highlights the gaps in confidence, the areas where doubt still lingers, and the opportunities to strengthen your inner foundation. When you confront fear head-on, you engage in active training of your mind. You tell your subconscious, I am capable of handling this. I am capable of more than I thought. I can continue even when the world feels uncertain. Repetition of these moments builds unshakable self-trust. Gradually, fear no longer controls your decisions. Instead, it becomes an indicator that you are stepping toward something meaningful, and each response to fear is a step toward reinforcing belief in yourself. The greatest achievements in life are always on the other side of fear. The dreams, opportunities, and success you seek are never within the zone of comfort. They are always in the territory that provokes anxiety, doubt, and hesitation. By turning fear into a signal instead of a barrier, you begin to navigate life differently. Every challenge becomes an invitation. Every difficult moment an opportunity. Every intimidating situation a test of your courage. Fear is transformed from a deterrent into a tool, a trigger that compels you to act decisively, persistently, and intelligently. The more you respond to fear with action, the more you rewire your mind to see obstacles as stepping stones rather than threats. Ultimately, turning fear into action is the key to building confidence that cannot be shaken. It is the difference between living passively and living intentionally. When you learn to act despite fear, you begin to trust yourself in all circumstances. You understand that fear is temporary, but the strength, growth, and momentum gained through acting while afraid are permanent. This transformation in how you respond to fear strengthens belief in yourself in a way that no external validation ever could. Every time fear appears, it becomes an opportunity to reinforce your power and prove to yourself and no one else that you are unstoppable. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is experienced. This is why visualization and mental rehearsal are among the most powerful tools for building belief in yourself. When you take the time to see yourself achieving your goals, handling challenges, and thriving in situations that once felt impossible, your subconscious begins to accept those outcomes as real. The images you hold in your mind, repeated consistently, shape your expectations, influence your decisions, and guide your actions. Visualization is not daydreaming, it is purposeful mental training. It programs your mind to respond with confidence, to act decisively, and to persist until the vision becomes reality. Mental rehearsal strengthens belief because it allows you to practice success in your mind before it occurs in your life. When you mentally walk through the steps needed to overcome obstacles, solve problems, and achieve results, you reduce the uncertainty that causes hesitation. You teach your mind that success is not random or accidental. It is a process that can be controlled and repeated. This repetition creates familiarity and comfort with difficult situations. What once seemed intimidating begins to feel manageable. Your mind starts to recognize that you already possess the ability to act effectively. In this way, visualization becomes a rehearsal not just of outcomes, but of the mindset required to reach those outcomes. The power of mental rehearsal is amplified by emotion. It is not enough to imagine success passively. You must feel it, embody it, and allow it to inspire you. The emotions you attach to visualization, confidence, excitement, determination, clarity, create a neural pattern that programs your behavior. Your subconscious responds to emotional repetition with the same intensity as real experiences. This is why consistent visualization, paired with strong feelings of belief, courage, and motivation, directly influences your ability to take bold action when real opportunities arise. Over time, the act of mentally practicing success strengthens your belief that you are capable of achieving it in reality. Visualization also builds resilience. By mentally confronting challenges before they occur, you prepare your mind to respond calmly and strategically rather than react impulsively. You develop the ability to stay composed in high-pressure situations, to maintain focus in the face of adversity, and to make decisions that align with long-term success. Mental rehearsal reduces fear, minimizes doubt, and fortifies confidence. It transforms uncertainty from a source of anxiety into a familiar scenario you have already navigated in your mind. Each rehearsal reinforces belief, sharpens your skills, and enhances your readiness to act decisively in the real world. In essence, visualization is the bridge between imagination and reality. It turns abstract goals into concrete mental experiences, conditioning your mind to accept success as possible and achievable. When practiced consistently, it rewires your thought patterns, aligns your emotions with your intentions, and strengthens your internal belief system. What you see in your mind repeatedly, you begin to live in reality. Visualization is not magic. It is focused, deliberate practice of your future self. It is a tool that turns belief into certainty, intention into action, and dreams into results. Words are not mere sounds. They are the architects of thought and action. What you say to yourself repeatedly becomes the lens through which you perceive your capabilities, your potential, and your worth. Affirmations are deliberate statements designed to influence your subconscious mind, to reinforce belief in yourself, and to guide your actions in alignment with your goals. They are not empty phrases or wishful thinking. They are powerful declarations that shape your internal reality. When spoken consistently and with conviction, affirmations train your mind to recognize possibilities rather than limitations. They transform doubt into certainty, hesitation into action, and fear into confidence. The real power of affirmations lies in repetition combined with emotional engagement. Simply saying words without feeling or conviction has minimal impact. Your mind responds most strongly when you attach emotion, intention, and belief to your statements. Each affirmation becomes a neural imprint, strengthening pathways in your brain that align with the identity you are cultivating. By repeatedly affirming your abilities, your worth, and your capacity to overcome challenges, you gradually replace the internal dialogue of fear and limitation with one of empowerment and possibility. Over time, what you say to yourself begins to shape not only how you think, but also how you act, how you respond to challenges, and how you perceive opportunities. Consistency is crucial when using affirmations. Most people abandon them too quickly because the effects are not immediately visible. But like planting seeds, the results take time to grow. Each repetition adds strength to the belief system within you. Each moment spent affirming who you are and what you can achieve reinforces the mindset required for success. Even when circumstances seem contrary or external validation is absent, affirmations act as an internal compass, guiding you toward the behaviors, decisions, and attitudes that will produce results. Over time, this practice rewires your mind, transforming the way you approach challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. Affirmations also act as a shield against negativity from others and from yourself. Life constantly presents voices of doubt, criticism, and skepticism. Without an internal voice of affirmation, these external messages can erode your belief and derail your progress. By consciously speaking empowering statements to yourself, you counteract the negative influence of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. You fortify your internal environment, creating a mental space in which confidence, clarity, and persistence can thrive. The more consistently you speak these truths to yourself, the more resilient your mind becomes, and the more aligned your actions are with your deepest aspirations. Ultimately, affirmations are not just words, they are commitments. They are repeated choices to reinforce the person you are becoming, to declare your worth, and to strengthen the foundation of belief in yourself. When practiced with focus, discipline, and emotion, affirmations build a subconscious framework that directs your actions and decisions with precision. They ensure that your mind is working for you, not against you, creating a feedback loop in which belief generates action, and action reinforces belief. Speaking power into your life is the conscious step that transforms possibility into reality. Living your belief is the ultimate test of all the work you have done on your mind, your habits, your discipline, and your courage. It is the point where internal conviction transforms into consistent action, and where thoughts become behaviors. Behaviors become routines, and routines become results. Belief is not complete until it is demonstrated through what you do every single day. To live your belief means to act decisively, persist relentlessly, and respond to challenges with the understanding that you are capable of overcoming them. It is the alignment of intention, thought, and action. It is not enough to believe quietly in private. The belief must be visible in the way you live your life, the way you pursue goals, and the way you respond when the world tests you. Becoming unstoppable requires integrating every principle you have learned: the choice to believe, the practice of persistence, the courage to act despite fear, the mental rehearsal of success, the repetition of empowering thoughts, and the daily affirmation of your capabilities. All of these form the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The person who truly believes in themselves does not rely on luck, validation, or external conditions to move forward. They are self-propelled. They act because their internal belief drives them. Obstacles are temporary, setbacks are lessons, fear is fuel, and failure is simply feedback. This mindset creates momentum that cannot be stopped, no matter the opposition. Living the belief also means becoming proactive rather than reactive. You no longer wait for conditions to be perfect or for opportunities to appear. You create your own path. Every choice is intentional, every action aligned with your goals, and every response measured against your vision of who you want to become. Challenges no longer intimidate you. They clarify your direction and strengthen your resolve. You have built the capacity to handle discomfort, uncertainty, and resistance because you have proven to yourself repeatedly that you can act effectively despite them. This self-trust is the essence of becoming unstoppable. The final element of living belief is consistency. Belief is not a one-time decision or a temporary surge of confidence. It is a lifestyle, a constant practice, and a commitment to yourself. Each day, you reinforce your inner strength through action, discipline, and focus. Each decision you make is a reflection of the person you are becoming. When belief is integrated into your daily life, it no longer requires effort to sustain. It becomes your natural state. You operate from confidence, clarity, and certainty, drawing others toward your energy while carving a path forward that is uniquely yours. In this state, obstacles are no longer barriers. They are opportunities. Doubt no longer lingers. It dissolves. Fear no longer stops you. It propels you. And no matter what challenges appear, your internal belief ensures that you continue moving, growing, and achieving. Living the belief is the ultimate freedom. It is the moment when internal conviction and external action merge into unstoppable momentum. It is the state where doubt cannot dominate, fear cannot control, and setbacks cannot define you. To live your belief is to embrace your power fully, to act decisively every day, and to carry the certainty that you are capable of creating the life you desire. It is the culmination of every choice, every discipline, every act of courage, and every moment of persistence. It is the proof that belief, when force-trained and nurtured, transforms into unstoppable action, and that the person who masters their belief can achieve anything they set their mind to. There comes a moment when belief must turn into action, when preparation must shift into movement, when intentions must finally become results. No amount of knowledge, motivation, or inspiration will matter unless you choose to act. Action is the force that brings your thoughts into the physical world. It is the bridge between the life you imagine and the life you are determined to build. Many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect timing, the perfect mindset, the perfect opportunity. But perfection is an illusion that keeps you stuck where you are. The only requirement for action is the willingness to begin right now with what you have, even if you feel unprepared. Progress is born from motion, not from waiting. The moment you take a step, your mind shifts, your energy rises, and your confidence grows. Every action you take becomes evidence that you are capable. And that evidence deepens your belief far more than any thought ever could. Action has a transformative power because it interrupts the cycle of overthinking. The mind can create limitless excuses, fears, and imaginary obstacles, but action exposes these illusions for what they are. Stories without weight. When you begin, even in the smallest way, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your doubts. You show yourself that uncertainty does not control you. You demonstrate that fear does not dictate your decisions. The truth is, the hardest part is always the first step. Once you move, momentum builds. You become a person who follows through, who honors commitments, who turns internal promises into tangible progress. This shift in identity is the foundation of lasting self-belief. You must remember that action does not need to be perfect to be powerful. Imperfect action will always outperform perfect intentions. Every attempt, every effort, every forward step creates learning, creates clarity, creates strength. Even your mistakes serve you because they refine your direction and sharpen your discipline. But inaction teaches you nothing. It keeps you in the same place, holding on to the same doubts, replaying the same fears. When you take action, you break that cycle and replace it with evidence. Evidence that you can change, evidence that you can grow, evidence that you are capable of shaping your future with your own hands. This is how self-belief becomes unshakable. Not through words alone, but through the undeniable truth that you acted when it mattered. The person you want to become is built through consistent decisions, not grand moments. Action compounds. Small steps multiply. Daily effort, even when it feels insignificant, becomes unstoppable over time. The path to your greatest achievements is not paved with dramatic leaps, but with steady, persistent movement. When you understand this, the pressure to be perfect disappears. You no longer judge yourself for not being at the finish line because you know progress is happening every day. And with every day that you act, you rewrite the story you tell yourself about who you are. You are no longer someone who hopes. You are someone who builds. You are no longer someone who dreams. You are someone who creates. You are no longer someone who waits. You are someone who moves. Action is the final proof of belief. It is the moment where everything you have learned, everything you have affirmed, and everything you have claimed becomes real. And once you choose to act consistently and courageously, you will discover a truth that changes everything. You were capable all along.